Jake Paul is a clown and Brian is a baby clown. That's what they do. They try to get fame off of other people's victories and things like that. So
Jake Paul fight next. He just called out Tank.
I think he deserves a fight. He can fight Sugar Ramirez, or he can fight the Mexican monster, David Benavidez.
And create an amazing sports story. And so I set that goal for myself. And I want to be impeccable with my word and stay committed and prove to myself that I can do this.
Gervonta has replied to Jake. Paul's call-out stated that Jake is a clown who is only after money. However, Tank said that he may fight Jake in the future.
You retired, do you see yourself going the Jake Paul route?
I laugh because I don't want to say it. But
Say it, nigga, say it. You helping everybody else out, so say it, nigga.
yeah, I would. I would.
Who would the first celebrity you fight? Jake.
Yeah, I fight him for that money. Get him like 190, 98, 200. No, 195, 200. He definitely be in the gym, so I would consider him a boxer. It just, he got to fight a actual fighter now, like a fighter.
Who was somebody you could see him fighting, like
Me.
a real?
After his win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Jake Paul called out Gervonta Tank Davis, boldly stating his desire to become a world champion and take on the best. Jake said he wants to fight them all, showing no hesitation in selecting elite names. In reaction, Gervonta Davis acknowledged the call-out, making it clear he's aware of Jake's ambition, though many question whether Jake is truly ready for that level.
If you like this, please subscribe Punch Vista and click the bell icon for more latest and interesting videos.
A lot more than that. I want tougher fighters. I want to be world champion. Zerto looks slow as shit tonight. That'd be easy work too. Badu Jack. I want everybody. Anthony Joshua, Gervonta, and Tommy, stop running.
Jose Benavidez Sr., the veteran boxing trainer and father of David Benavidez, voiced strong support for Jake Paul following his recent performance. He mentioned that Jake looked good in his bout and now deserves to face top-level competition, including Tank Davis and even his own son. In his eyes, this shift is good for the sport as it blends entertainment with legitimate competition.
He was blocking and taking all his shots, but I think he just got tired, and couldn't execute it. So Jake Paul did a great job.
Who should Jake Paul fight next? He just called out Tank.
I think he deserves a fight. He can fight Sugar Ramirez, or he can fight the Mexican monster, David Benavidez.
You won that fight?
Yeah, he deserves to fight all these guys. I think it will be a great fight. And I think he did good. He deserves an opportunity to fight for the world title.
And what would happen if he fought David?
What was that?
What would happen if he fought David?
Well, I think David's in another. I think David's in another level, but let's give this guy an opportunity to fight for a world title.
Jake Paul's win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. did more than elevate his name. It shifted his official standing as recorded by Boxing Kingdom. If Jake Paul wins tonight, he will be ranked as a top 15 cruiserweight by two important sanctioning bodies. This allows world winners to fight Jake Paul as a voluntary defense. Given the money Jake brings to the table, he will be able to pick which champion he fights for the world title at a time of his choice. Jake is now expected to be ranked in the top 15 cruiserweight fighters by two sanctioning bodies. This status gives him access to fight world champions as a voluntary defense. What's more, Jake's massive commercial appeal means he has power. He can choose when and whom he fights for a title. This places Jake not just as a fighter, but as a real player in boxing's business and championship dynamics. While Gervonta Tank Davis is often considered one of boxing's most dangerous pound-for-pound fighters, Jake Paul's name possibly rings louder outside the boxing ring. Jake's influence goes beyond sports. His social media reach, promotional skills, and crossover popularity give him a different kind of edge. Many fans and observers have pointed out that while Tank is a beast in boxing,
Hi fans, now Gervonta Davis just called out Jake Paul after Jake Paul had his fight with Mike Tyson. Now we all know that Gervonta Davis is a beast of a boxer, and skill-wise he's a lot better than Jake Paul. Would it be smart to pair those two up in a fight? Would Jake Paul be too big for Gervonta Davis? What do you guys think?
Jake is simply bigger in brand and impact and increasingly in match. Jake Paul has made it clear that this boxing journey is about more than fights. It's about building an unforgettable sports legacy. In his own words, He's dedicated to setting an amazing sports story, and he's sticking to that goal with discipline. From his roots as a controversial internet figure to becoming a ranked professional boxer,
in a ceremony that I was doing, he said that you have to become world champion to inspire so many kids and create an amazing sports story. And so I set that goal for myself. I want to be impeccable with my word and stay committed and prove to myself that I can do this and become world champion in the world's hardest sport in roughly 6 to 7 years, because I think it can be one of the most relatable and inspiring sports stories of all time, and no one thought it was possible. Nobody. Like, look, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people laughed at me. I'm gonna lose to fucking Gibb, then Nate Robinson, then Ben. Come on. So at the end of the day, that's my why, and I'm dead set on becoming world champion.
Jake has turned skepticism into progress. Jake Paul's manager shed light on how far he's come, recalling the Tommy Fury fight when Jake was still developing. Despite being green, Jake took on Tommy and didn't back down. Now he's better with every fight and racking up wins, according to his manager. Plans are already building for Jake to return to the ring by November or December.
Did Jake Paul take more from this fight as a boxer and then Tommy Fury fight or this fight? What do you reckon he learned more from?
I think he said it best in there himself. When he fought Tommy Fury, he wasn't even a boxer yet. He was learning how to box, right? Now, 2.5 years later, he's a true boxer. The loss to Tommy Fury was the greatest gift in Jake Paul's life. Had he beaten Tommy Fury, which was a split decision loss, right? Not a unanimous, not a majority, a split decision loss, he wouldn't be the fighter that he is today. So thank you, Tommy.
Do you think that Jake Paul's fight in November, December time? Is that what we'll see about next?
Yeah, November or December is the time that he'd like to do it.
With Gervonta Davis being one of the names. On the table, Jake Paul's performance against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. drew praise from several areas of the boxing world, including rising star Ryan Garcia. Garcia tweeted, "Jake did his thing, outboxing Chavez Jr., which speaks loudly given Garcia's place among the sport's elite. Such recognition from a real contender validates Jake's work and achievement." Boxing veteran Antonio Tarver offered a balanced take on Jake's growth. He noted that Jake looked good and showed clear improvement, but cautioned against rushing into elite matchups. According to Tarver, while Jake has displayed potential, there's still a gap between where he is now and the top-tier level.
But Jake was impressive. You know, surprisingly, he was impressive. He's definitely improving. You know, he got a good team with him. They working on some things. But, you know, to become an elite fighter, it's like, bro, it's miles away from what, you know, they can comprehend. You feel me? And so I'm just watching the evolution. You know what I mean? But I see a lot of things from my optics. You know, every time I, you know, break it down, I'm not being critical. I'm just telling him the truth. You know what I mean? His jab looked good today, you know, but he knew the guy wasn't throwing nothing back. So when you let your hands go and you know nothing's coming back, you kind of get comfortable. You know, so when you're going up against better fighters, they not only gonna let their hands go, but when you throw yours, they coming back with something. So, you know, Chavez didn't bring that to the game. He didn't bring that to the table. But Jake looked good tonight. The body work was good. But what I liked was his composure. He didn't get wild. He didn't get out of control, swinging wild and just fighting. He stayed composed. He stayed in his form. And that is evolution in the boxing game. He was more technical than that.
A significant portion of the boxing community thinks that a fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul lacks a competitive sense. Tank is still in his prime and has a line of top opponents to deal within his own weight class. Many say that Jake, despite his growing record, hasn't proven himself enough for that level of competition, and Jake Paul might actually fight Gervonta Tank Davis. On the flip side,
Jake Paul might actually fight Gervonta Tank Davis. This can't be real. When it came up a couple of months ago, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to cover this because there's no way it's real. There's no way they're really going to do that because it makes no sense. Why would you do that for him? Outside of it, like, okay, you can look at it like an exhibition, which it will be, and we'll take a look at some of the rule set for it. But Gervonta Davis is one of if not the best, biggest names at 135 pounds, and is an active in his prime fighter. I don't want to hear the similar to Floyd and Logan thing, because at that point, Floyd was retired. Floyd had done all he needed to do in the sport. Tank is still in his prime, still has multiple high-level opponents that he needs to fight. And you can say, oh, you know, the Jake would be a one-off, side quest. That's fine, but that just tells me that Tank doesn't care about being a high-level champion in the sport anymore. It tells me that he's done competitively in the sport. If he takes a fight with Jake Paul, it tells me he's done. And that's unfortunate. Yeah, Tank has been talking about retirement, but if he goes this route, it's almost certain. Like, it's pack it up. It's over with, because the fight makes no sense. It doesn't even make sense for Jake. For all the things Jake's talking about doing, it makes no sense for him. Again, money, sure. If it makes dollars make sense, okay, fine. But I want to see Jake in competitive matchups where I am interested in the outcome. I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in the outcome of this. I was interested in Floyd versus Logan because there was an idea that Floyd was a little slower, a little older, and Logan would be able to knock him out. If Jake knocks Tank out, so what? What does that do for him? Because he said he could beat Canelo. He said he could beat Anthony Joshua. This one to me, like, I've gotten on board with a lot of Jake fights because they've made sense. Right? To me, they've made sense. Even Julio Cesar Chavez, after he's already beaten the guy that beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he beat Anderson Silva.
Some fans think that Jake's physical advantage and growing skill set could give him the upper hand against Hank Gervonta. Davis usually fights in lighter divisions, and stepping up to fight someone of Jake's size is a major risk. While Davis has proven skill, power, and ring IQ, the size difference is enough for some to claim that Jake could overpower him.
Love to see Tank fight Jake Paul. I would love to see Tank show how unskilled he is and too small for the unexperienced Jake Paul, who would be too big for him, pause, and use his size and beat the out of Tank. He always tweet about, type about, got something to say, like he really running shit, but he stays little ass at that lightweight class, but being a bigger, smaller dude that can only beat the smaller dudes. And unfortunately, I would love to see the Tank fans looks on their face as they pull a mask off and all the rabies and all the disinfection disease, they've been clogged up their brains and their ears and shit over the years watching Jake Paul beat the fuck out of the small version of the wannabe hype job that's not skilled enough to use his size and speed. I want the fight. They both fight in the same lane. They content creators. They circus acts and stuff, so Tank would be right up his alley fighting a Jake Paul. I'm for it. So let's push for the fight. I got Jake Paul beating the tall shit out of Tank because Tank's not skilled enough to actually beat Jake Paul.
That's it for today's movie. Stay tuned until next.